Hello and welcome to another TLDR Brexit Explained video. It probably goes without saying to our audience, but the Brexit deadline is rapidly approaching. I mean, we even put a countdown clock in this video's thumbnail. So with the UK set to cut all ties with the EU at the end of the year, there's not long left for the UK and EU to sort out their future relationship. When negotiations faltered in the middle of October, Johnson told Britain to prepare for no deal, suggesting that there'll be no grand UK-EU deal. Instead, a number of smaller arrangements to smooth over some of the cracks. However, days later, negotiations began in earnest again, and well, it seemed that a full deal could be possible, with positive noises arising from both camps. Anyway, the point is that even if both sides are feeling positive about negotiations, positive vibes don't slow down the passage of time, and there are still only 45 days to go. Because of this, pressure is mounting on both sides to reach a deal. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of those urging Johnson to get a deal sorted, and whether all of this pressure could force Johnson to get a Brexit deal done. Quickly before we start though, and I know we've mentioned this a few times, but we're paying thousands of pounds for a studio that's locked down, so we've got to pay our bills. We recently released a second edition of our book, Brexit the Colouring Book, which runs you through the entire Brexit timeline, telling you all the information you need to know, and giving you some beautiful images to colour. With lockdown returning and Christmas round the corner, this could be a great gift for yourself or the TLDR fan in your life. Anyway, we're offering a bundle right now, which includes a signed copy, 3 Barnard Castle postcards, and a mystery pin badge, all for $13.99. That's a significant discount. The offer ends on November 22nd, and there's a link down below. So, with 45 days to go, the pressure to reach a Brexit deal is truly on. Well, I guess there's no pressure if you don't actually want a Brexit deal, and instead you just want to wait out the clock until a no-deal exit arrives.
You can see right now that Brexit is in great peril.
But we'll get to that later. The point is that time's ticking. So anyone with influence who wants to try and get a deal is certainly trying to exert that influence on the government, from business leaders to MPs to Joe Biden. So let's run through these people and discuss why they're piling pressure on Johnson and whether this will shape the kind of Brexit that Britain ends up with. Towards the end of October, more than 70 British business groups, ranging from the CBI to the National Farmers Union and the British Retail Consortium, stressed in a joint statement how important a deal is to British industry, especially given the circumstances surrounding the pandemic, saying, "Now is a time for historic political leadership. With compromise and tenacity, a deal can be done. Businesses are doing what they can to prepare for Brexit. But firms face a hat-trick of unprecedented challenges. That's why more than 3/4 of UK firms say they need a deal quickly. With each day that passes, business resilience is chipped away." In reporting the statement, the FT seemed to summarise the general consensus of the industry. Employers fear the option of an accord that protects UK jobs and investment is being sacrificed for political motives. A poll of the members of the Institute of Directors at the time the joint statement was issued is quite stark. Asked whether their organisation would be prepared for the end of the transition period, just 21% said they were fully prepared. A further 21% said that more preparation is needed, but expect to be ready by the end of the year. And 24% said that they were unsure whether they'd be fully prepared come January 1st. The CBI, where Johnson actually gave a speech earlier this month, has been clear about how much the UK needs a deal. CBI Director General Dame Carolyn Fairbairn, in a statement after Johnson said that businesses needed to start preparing for no deal, stressed that after 4 years of negotiations and so many hurdles crossed, this is no time to give up. Neither side can afford to fall at the final fence. A deal is the only outcome that protects COVID-hit livelihoods at a time where every job in every country counts. More recent warnings haven't done much to take the pressure off Johnson either. Warwick Smith, Director General of the British Generic Manufacturers Association, warned that the UK just barely managed to meet demand for medicines at the height of the pandemic, and that was without the additional strain on supply chains a no-deal Brexit would cause. The issue being that Johnson can't just fold at the last moment and push through any deal he so chooses. He ultimately needs a deal that he can sell to the Brexiteer wing of his party and the voters that lent the Conservatives their vote, as well as the pro-business wing of the party that doesn't want to see business confidence and supply chains decimated overnight. Balancing these two demands isn't going to be easy, and we may end up seeing Johnson having to rely on the support of the Labour Party if push ever ends up coming to shove. But let's get to the last major pressure, the one you've likely been waiting for, probably because we slapped it in the thumbnail. President-elect Joe Biden. Now, as the thumbnail alludes to, Joe Biden and Boris Johnson had a phone call last week. Now, it wasn't a FaceTime call, but honestly, we have to take some creative license with these thumbnails. Despite not being a groundbreaking world leader Zoom call, this call was still really important for Johnson and the UK more generally. But that's because Biden called Johnson before any other European leader. Now, this might sound like a bit of playground gossip, the kids picking their best friends. But this is important for the UK government. Historically, the UK and US have been very close allies, and since Churchill first coined the term, the UK and US have had a special relationship, working together on a whole variety of issues, projects, and initiatives. In fact, this relationship was arguably strengthened when the UK joined the EU, with the UK becoming somewhat of a conduit for the US and Europe, connecting both sides of the Atlantic. This naturally gave the UK increased influence both in the US and in the EU, strengthening the UK's diplomatic position on the global stage. The concern that many had, though, is that with the UK out of the EU, the US may no longer use Britain as a bridge to Europe, and may go straight to countries like France and Germany, who now hold the keys to the Union. This would obviously diminish the UK's influence in Europe, but it also weakens the UK-US bond. Also, as we discussed in our videos on the topic, Biden is not a huge fan of Brexit. As a lifelong promoter of trade and internationalism, a more isolated Britain isn't exactly his dream scenario. So some feared that Biden would side with the EU on this issue, making Britain's Brexit situation only harder. Now, just because Biden called Johnson instead of Merkel or Macron doesn't mean this whole issue is over. And when you consider the contents of the call, that's especially true. Biden's clearly not a fan of Brexit still, and due to his familial connections to Ireland and the Good Friday Agreement, the president-elect is definitely worried about a no-deal exit. It's said that the call between Biden and Johnson wasn't just a casual catch-up to secure the special relationship. Biden had a very clear message for Johnson about Brexit and the future deal between the UK and US. In essence, this was a threat. If Johnson let the UK leave without a deal, undermining stability on the Irish border and the Good Friday Agreement, then Britain wouldn't get the deal they need with the United States. Now, this is a big issue for the British government, and conservative Brexiteers more specifically, who've been talking up the joys of a UK-US deal for years now. One of the core arguments levied by many supporters of Brexit is that it will allow Britain to forge its own trade deals. But it seems like one of the most lucrative deals might be on the rocks, at least in part because of their behaviour on the Irish border and in relation to international law. Not getting a deal with the US would be a big blow for both political egos and for the UK's economy post-Brexit, especially in a no-deal scenario. But this could just be the start of the trouble. If the UK gets a reputation for breaking treaties and international law, getting other deals could become more challenging, and could also make chairing the G7 next year especially awkward. It's exactly because of this that the House of Lords voted against the Internal Markets Bill, the bill set to break international law, and even loyal Conservative Lords ended up voting the bill down.
I voted and campaigned for Brexit, and I do not for one moment regret or resile from that vote. But I want the independent sovereign state that I voted for to be a country which holds its head up high in the world, that keeps its word, that upholds the rule of law, and that honours its treaty obligations. And I am dismayed that the government which I have supported for so long and which I have very, very rarely disagreed with and rebelled against, that government has chosen as one of the first assertions of its newly won sovereignty to break its word, to break international law, and to renege on a treaty it signed barely a year ago. I hope your lordships will at least give the government the opportunity to think again by removing Part 5 from the bill.
Anyway, we discussed that further in the latest episode of This Week in Parliament, which is linked down below. But regardless of the Lord's actions, Johnson's government seemed determined to push the bill through despite opposition, suggesting Biden's worst case scenario might still be possible. There is pressure coming from the other side of the debate too though, with major figures on the side of Leave also coming out to put pressure on the PM. Notably on Sunday, Nigel Farage posted a video on Twitter warning his followers that Brexit was under threat. He argued that with Cummings gone, Johnson would no longer be focused on getting Brexit done, and instead would suddenly have his focus turned to COVID and green issues, which does suggest that Farage didn't read the Tory manifesto too closely in 2019.
The likelihood that the duffer, Joe Biden, is going to become the next US president and has said already that our relationship with the USA will depend on how happy Brussels and Dublin are with the deal. You can see right now that Brexit is in great peril.
Anyway, we're about out of time on this video, so we'll discuss Farage's claim and the concern that a real Brexit won't be delivered in another video. So be sure to subscribe to the channel for that. The point is though, time is running out, and while Brexiteers are attempting to heap on the pressure, trying to get the hard Brexit they dreamed of, others are definitely pushing for a softer form of Brexit. Who will win this war of words, and if Biden would really block a UK-US deal, is still yet to be seen. Safe to say though, the battle of Brexit is still far from over. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more updates on this issue and many others. Also, actually it's worth saying that this topic was selected by our Patreon backers. So if you want to have your say in the future and see your name listed at the end of the videos, then you can back us on Patreon too. There's a link to that in the description.